welcome to Sheer Edge Training. On our live chat today, we're going to be focusing on hospitality, the events industry and future plans. So joining us on our live chat today is Mark Lee, Sales Manager from Principality Stadium Experience. Hi Mark, thanks for joining us today.
No worries, thanks.
Mandy Jennings, Executive Director from Venues of Excellence. Hi Mandy, thanks for joining us today. Hi.
Thank you.
Sally Walder, General Manager from Amplify NEC Group. Hi Sally, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Tracy Astles, Head of Sales at RA Venues Compass Group. Hi Tracy, thanks for joining us today.
Hi Jo, thanks for having me.
No problem. Fee Morley, Venue Director for Scottish Rugby Hospitality at BT Murrayfield Stadium. Hi Fee, thanks for joining us today.
Hi Jo, and lovely to see everybody today.
Also on the chat, we've got Karen Edwards from Sheer Edge Training, and she will be asking our panel some challenging questions at the end of the live chat. So hi Karen, thanks for being part of the A team.
No problem.
And for those of you watching the live chat via Zoom, please feel free to post some of the questions in the chat box. For those of you watching on Facebook, please feel free to post questions in the comments section. Okay, so now the introductions are over, let's get down to the nitty gritty. Tracy, what have you and your teams been up to and doing since lockdown?
Thanks, Jo. We obviously 30 venues across the UK. We are visitor attractions, historic and cultural venues. So as soon as we went into lockdown, our venues closed. We had a sales team of 54, which we put majority of them onto furlough. 6 of us retained in the business, and just really to kind of keep that momentum going, because we've kept our channels open. We do very proactive approach where we contacted all our top customers, let them know we're still open for business. So we have actually been taking enquiries, we've been converting, we've been moving business. That's been the main focus, obviously, to try and keep that business going, and month on month analysing, are we going to open yet? Are we not? Are we cancelling business? Are we postponing it? We've had a really fresh approach from customers where they haven't cancelled business, they've wanted to postpone it, and we've been very generous, no cancellation charges, we've been supporting the industry as best as we can. We've produced a safe spaces guide, which then we can send out to our customers to ensure that when they do come back to us for events, we've looked at food concepts, how we can host their event and keep their customers, as well as keeping our staff safe. We've also produced a safe show round guide, because obviously, you know, we still want people coming in for show rounds. That's both internally for the staff, and we've produced one externally. We've hosted a number of webcasts. We've also just completed a customer survey. We thought it would be really good to go out to market and find out what our customers are saying to us about how they want post-COVID to return to events. Do they want Christmas parties? Because everybody's right now going, what's happening with Christmas? Can we deliver Christmas? We're just talking to our customers constantly. And I think we've received really good feedback from that. And I think that kind of puts us in a really great position for next year with our relationships with our customers. So yeah, we've been a really busy six members of the team really.
Yeah.
And some of our venues have now just started to open up from a leisure point of view, and we're just waiting for that answer now when we can do events.
Yeah. I mean, I think communication's key, isn't it?
Yeah.
In all of this, it's a communication piece, definitely. So it sounds like you have had a busy time. So thank you for that.
We have, yeah.
And Mandy, obviously you look after a portfolio of venues at Venues of Excellence. How have your clients been diversifying their products and or services during this time?
Well, firstly, I'd like to say to Tracy, wow, I mean, all that work those guys are doing, it's just incredible, isn't it? And I think what we've seen from our venues, and I think from the events industry, is this amazing creativity, which is what we're all about. And the venues have just been amazing in what they've been doing. I think, you know, firstly, coming up with the most creative ways to ensure that customers feel safe and secure when they come back. So the plans that some of the Venues of Excellence teams have been pulling together to reassure the customers are quite incredible. the level of detail, and they're just chomping at the bit now to get open, and desperate for every day, which is great. But diversifying into other areas as well. We've seen some amazing examples, particularly if you're looking at the biggest stadiums. So, I mean, Edgbaston, I would shout out to the team there, which I'm sure Tracy knows as well because they work really closely. But the amazing work they've done with charities, the teams getting behind charity work, opening up their venue, the car park for NHS testing, working in partnership as a distribution centre. So quite incredible. I mean, hats off to those guys. Silverstone, again, diversifying their big space, absolutely desperate that they can't, hold a live Grand Prix, but they're going to be doing it, interestingly, behind the scenes, and we'll be able to view it, but not with people there. So I think, from drive-ins to amazing events, it's just wonderful to see our industry are just going to keep going at it and make sure we come out strong, and it's just wonderful to see, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. I mean, I echo that, and that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, it is, they're both industries that have been hit, one of the hardest hit, but it seems we're a resilient bunch, aren't we? So
definitely.
Mark, obviously working at the Principality Stadium, what are your thoughts about sporting events being held behind closed doors? What are your feelings on that?
Yeah, it depends which hat you wear. I mean, the behind closed doors is probably the best of two evils. It's better than having no events, but it's not quite there with the crowds.
Yeah.
It's kind of a drip approach. So where you get the consumer generally needing sport after 101 days in lockdown. I know clients and fans and colleagues are just itching to get some live sports back underway.
Yeah.
I think the thing that people need to take into consideration with behind closed doors is obviously the financial aspects from the venues, from the clubs, from the unions. Sometimes it does actually cost more to put sporting events on behind closed doors than actually the income that's coming in. Why we've seen things like the French Football League and the Dutch Football League just cancelling the season, whereby the likes of the Bundesliga, the Premier League, there's enough financial support there to carry on. From a personal perspective and where we are with Welsh Rugby, I mean, we've got our domestic league starting back on the 22nd of August behind closed doors, which I think the fans are delighted to see that it's going to be on the TV and things like that, because like I said, they're just itching to watch live sport again. But then obviously from a wider perspective, we want crowds. I think that's if it can be done safely and within, government restrictions and guidelines, and, first is health and safety, second is enjoyment, but I think the overall consensus is we want live sport in front of crowds.
Yeah, I mean, that's ultimately what, we want to return to some sort of normality, whatever that looks like, don't we? And, live events, whether it's music or sport, entertainment, that's in our blood. It's what we love doing and what we're passionate about, isn't it? So
absolutely. I mean, the human race are there to social, not to be, like we are now. So, the sooner we can get interacting with each other face to face, the better.
The better, definitely. And Fee, I mean, obviously, once it's safe to do so, how do you feel the catering offering might differ when corporate hospitality returns on match days, for instance? What do you think that might look like?
Well, much like everyone else has talked about, it's all about creativity with our partners, what we can do, the use of our spaces. I think probably from the stadium perspective, and certainly at BT Murrayfield, we're very fortunate because we've got big, large spaces. So we can do social distancing relatively easily. And hot off the press today, Nicola Sturgeon in Scotland has just announced that we can, if given certain mitigations, move to 1 meters for corporate hospitality, which is fantastic news. But apart from that, with creativity in mind, we've been moving towards, we've done much like Tracy has done with venue guides to work out what social distancing would look like, share it with our clients. We're going to have the same interesting use of menus, but it might just be that we change service slightly in order to use it. If it goes to public then we'll remove the frequently used items like sauce bottles or salt and peppers and things like that, and move to sachets. You know, there's going to be a certain amount of compromise that we all have to do. And we're going to try and use technology where we can, so apps to pre-order things, to prevent queues. So looking at all of that, and then moving to other sorts of hospitality, day delegate packages and conferences. We've got some really good looking, who would thought we'd say, good looking bento boxes and packaged offers. So it's just trying to be as creative as possible and working with our partners to bring all of that in together.
Absolutely. It sounds like, you know, everybody we're talking to on this panel, you know, we're rooting to just get everything going, but in the right and safe way to do so. So that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
We're also even looking at remote hospitality packages. So send things to fans so they can get it and then enjoy it when they watch it. And
amazing.
Same experience. So yes, wherever possible, I'm sure everyone's doing the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Fee. Sally, how have you been communicating with your customers and clients during this time, and what sorts of messages have you been sending out?
So I absolutely echo everybody's thoughts here. I think everybody has kind of sort of stated that open and honest communication right from the outset was our absolutely #1 priority. We operate hospitality experiences at the 2 big arenas in Birmingham, the Resorts World Arena and Utilita Arena Birmingham. So our events obviously are indoor large-scale events, which are of course you know, sort of very much impacted at the moment. We have a database of annual members. We also have a vast amount of ad hoc bookers that have active bookings with us at the moment. So of course we recognise that customers are going to be concerned, is, you know, when are events starting again? What's going to happen to my booking? Am I going to lose my money that I paid for my booking? So right from the outset, it was really important just to communicate and be really visible. We took the time, as Tracy sort of pointed out, we took the time to call all of our sort of key clients, talking to them, you know, about their scenarios, was really interesting actually, and I think it just helps to go towards cementing those relationships. And obviously when things do start to move again, it's how you treated your clients and of course your suppliers as well. We recognise that, you know, it's obviously, you know, primarily we have to look after our customers, but we couldn't operate without the help of the fantastic suppliers that support us, from the hostess team to the bands that plays in the hospitality area, and to all of the other sort of parts of that jigsaw. Just keeping in touch and sort of, you know, keeping people updated goes a long, long way. So I guess on a sort of second note, we're not able to promote events in the way that we perhaps have been before the crisis kicked off. But what we have been doing is just trying to find alternative ways to keep our customers engaged, from sending out recipes to getting tips from the chef, to sort of lifestyle tips. We've tried to pull together as much sort of alternative and fun, engaging content as we can, just to keep our brand out there, just to keep ourselves fresh in people's minds, and, you know, just try to keep people engaged, and also just sort of keep them aware of what's happening in the industry as well. We're quite fortunate at the moment, so super proud of the team at Arenas. They've been working on the Utilita Live at the Drive-In concert experience, which of course has been quite well publicised recently. So summer is not actually cancelled for us here at Amplify. We've got a whole raft of artists, from Dizzy Rascal to Russell Watson, playing in our car park facility at the Resorts World Arena. So it's really great to be able to promote that good news to customers. And again, it's just a way of keeping them engaged. We recognise customers are going to be concerned about safety, and what's going to happen, what the timeline is. And whilst we don't have that information at the moment, our Arena's managing director is actually linked in with the Department of Culture, Sports and Media, and they're working on a sort of roadmap, if you like, of getting back to business. So the messaging for us is starting to change a little in terms of, you know, we want to get back to business, and you know, we're doing everything we can behind the scenes to support that. So yeah, we've been pretty busy communicating.
It definitely sounds like you are,
Yeah.
and you're driving concerts are, you know, a fantastic idea and a great way for people to still experience live music, but in a safe way to do so.
Absolutely.
So, you know, congratulations
Yeah.
on that. It's just brilliant. Really, really lovely to hear, you know, some positive news and some ways forward, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So this is a question to all of you, really, and please feel free to respond how you know, whoever wants to. How do you think customers' expectations will change post-lockdown?
I think there's a large amount of reassurance people are wanting. They're wanting to see the hygiene factors. So obviously we will do them because they're very, very important. But I think we almost want to do them more so for reassurance. We need to do them because of course they have to be done, and we fully endorse that. But we also need to make them quite obvious and transparent to reassure people.
Absolutely. I think the customer expectation is they're going to want to see that it's a safe and controlled environment. So things like visible signage, obviously, as Fee's just made reference to, sanitising stations, all of this stuff that we've all been talking about, I think has to be in place, and I think customers are going to want to see that at all of our venues. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think from a culinary, sorry, Mandy, I think from a culinary point of view, when Fee was just mentioning about, you know, the Pt2 boxes, what we've done is we've completely kind of turned that concept upside down. We're not going to be able to serve buffets anymore. Nobody's going to be able to serve open buffets for the foreseeable future, and have a look at what we can offer people, and talking to customers about what we can do to make them have that safeguard feel around hosting their events, alongside that culinary feel for it as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say around the kind of the whole customer journey from the inquiry right through to when people are on site. It's interesting for us at Venues of Excellence. We have a central booking desk, an agency in effect. So we are getting inquiries through now for short lead business, as a number of venues are offering space for, you know, essential workers for small meetings. The level of detail now, even for a very small inquiry, is quite amazing, that from both parties, from the customer, making sure that they want the finite detail of every little thing that a venue's doing, as well as the, you know, that reassurance from both sides, from venue and customer, that you know, everything's going to be right. So I think spot on, you know, what Sally and Tracy have just said. We're going to have to give reassurance, we're going to have to give that confidence to both venues, customers, that we are doing the right thing, and you know, the whole buying process has completely changed. Sustainability and other things are there, but probably reassurance and confidence are right at the top of the list about safety.
Yeah, and just to echo everyone else, you know, I don't think customers know what to expect. They're kind of asking us for what's going to happen, and we're all, you know, gathering in our little groups within our, you know, relevant sort of industry sector groups and things like that, and people don't actually know what to expect, which is why I think that, you know, giving them confidence that what we're going to deliver is so important, because without a doubt there's people there booking and they want to go ahead with their events, whether that's from a, you know, a conference and event point of view, an exhibition point of view, you know, a sporting event. There's definitely people who want to get active, and they want to do so within the confines of you know, what restrictions there are in place. But I mean, there's so much you can do in terms of digitalization. There's so much you can do in terms of, you know, queuing. How do you manage queue systems for a 76,500 capacity event? You know, with 1 meter or 2 meter social distancing in place, temperature checks. You know, there's so much thought that goes behind event logistics now. It's unfathomable, really, that 7 months ago none of this had crossed any of our minds, and now it's going to become, and I'm not going to say the new normal, as I said it, but you know, it's going to become something we do day in, day out. But yeah, I think communication and giving confidence is absolute key.
We've just started to get inquiries from our clients on the venue find side of things, and hospitality actually, and they're the things that do come up, is the confidence element. It's, you know, is really important. If people don't feel confident, they won't purchase. So it's up to us as industry leaders to make sure that they feel happy, isn't it? I think that's definitely key. So last question for me, really. What's everybody's inquiries looking like for Q4 of 2020 and beyond? You know, how's everybody's inquiries looking at the moment?
Ours are, we've had a lot of business move and postpone until next year. So the Q4 that you're talking about is actually the start of our new financial year, so it's our Q1. So we've had the survey that we did. We asked customers how they feel about booking events for the future, and when were they looking to book events again for. And about 70% out of 250 responses that we've had, 70% of those customers have said that they wouldn't be happy having an event this side of this year. They would be looking more January onwards. And when we look at the business, we have still got business sat in there. It's probably reduced by 60–70%. We've still got weddings who are reluctant to move because obviously it's a very personal event. So we're still trying to persuade, really, because we don't know what the guidelines are to move those weddings. But yeah, I would say probably for us, for the first 6 months, we're probably going to be forecasting about you know, average 70% behind than what we would normally have business on the books.
I would echo quite a lot of what Tracy says. A lot of the work that we've been doing has been postponement and really working with our clients. And we've encouraged everybody to have really open conversations with us about what their needs are, how we could look after them. But yes, we have postponed a lot of business overall. Looking into next year, so many inquiries that we're going to have. If the world resets, then we are going to have a very, very busy year. I mean, much like Mark, we have rugby and we have autumn tests hanging. And so we're very keen to get something somewhere on all of those. And then the Six Nations next year, which will really give us a nice kick into 2021. But yes, the C&B events are a lot of conversations happening.
I'd say that, you know, we're pretty similar in that obviously our bookings are for tickets at concerts and events. We are expecting the majority, if not all of those, to manoeuvre into 2021, obviously depending on, you know, sort of what happens across the next couple of months. But funnily enough, we haven't had a huge drop in those bookings for the rescheduled dates. So that's a really positive side to it. You know, we were sort of expecting many people maybe struggling or wanting to protect their, you know, their money right now, which is understandable, but actually we haven't seen too much of a drop. As I mentioned before, we're really fortunate that we have got the Utilita Live at the Drive-In programme. So we've got Six, the musical, going on across September, which is fantastic. But other than that, I think pretty much everything will reschedule to next year.
Yeah, just to echo, I mean, we've had very little cancellations. I would probably say 85% have been postponements. So the events are still going ahead. It's just a case of when. It's the $1 million question. And every venue is different. Every, you know, Wales, Scotland and England and Ireland are all completely different. So I was speaking to a gentleman this morning who's got an event booked in England, Scotland and Wales, and the 3 different venues that he's booked, they're all giving him different advice on whether or not this event will go ahead. So, you know, I don't envy being an event organizer right now. But yeah, I mean, it's next year is going to be, I think it's going to be strong, providing we can give people what they want.
Yes, I would absolutely say the same. There's a real mixture. I think for us, because we've got some very large stadiums, but we have a number of conference and training centres, it's quite a different mixture on the stories. But we spent a lot of time rescheduling business not only once, but in some cases twice. From a short lead business, there is a flurry of training and that style of business for essential training, as I mentioned before. And I think a lot of what we do is around that associations, the big associations market, and they are very much trying to pinpoint dates for when they can meet again, because actually financially for them, if they don't have an event within a year, it can be quite a devastating financial situation for them. So a lot of them have tried to fit in their next date within their financial calendar to make sure. So that's interesting. I think it will be strong for that market, as well as by the sounds of it, the big events in the stadiums too. So watch out, 21. Here we come.
I know, that's it. It's like we need a reset button, isn't it?
Yes, please.
Oh, thank you for taking part in the live chat. It's now over to Karen to ask all the difficult questions. So over to you, Karen.
Thank you, Jo. I've just got a few questions for you, and I'm going to keep them quite generic so you can kind of answer as you need to. I was really inspired by you all there about how creative everyone's been. So your venues and the hospitality side, it's really interesting to see that you know, as an industry, everybody wants to be creative and wants to kind of get back to work and get the customers back. So that's really, really fascinating. One question's come up, and I know, Tracy, you did touch on this, and it's about Christmas parties. So Christmas is a really important time for venues' Christmas parties. What are your views on Christmas parties actually taking place? Will they be able to? Can you run them with social distancing, and can you run them with alcohol in place as well?
Well, there's some books. So we have took the stance that we haven't cancelled Christmas. Yeah, we haven't cancelled Christmas. We are still open for Christmas bookings, and we have still got a number of Christmas bookings in there. So what we need to understand is, how are we going to deliver Christmas? I think people do want to have Christmas parties. We had a lovely email the other week from an NHS customer who said, please let us know that you're open for Christmas. We really want to celebrate Christmas. So, you know, we really need to think about, how are we going to do this? What we are probably going to look at is, rather, because we have a number of larger venues where we do a lot of shared parties, is probably not have as many, reduce the shared parties down now and look at more private parties for organisations and switch that kind of strategy. You know, and then is it an element of, you know, rather than a sit down meal, which people expect, you know, is it more maybe poser tables, put people in bubbles, and that kind of thing? That's the type of thing that we're looking at. And once again, also that food concept. Should we have DJs? Should we have a dance floor? You know, there's various things that we need to look at, that people probably can have a Christmas party, but it's not going to be a normal Christmas party where they're kissing under the mistletoe, hugging everybody, and having lots of alcohol where people then forget what they're doing. We've even thought about, should we have a masked party, a masked ball party, so people could wear masks, you know, masks, and if they wanted to, and change up, because every venue that we have has a different concept for Christmas. So should we go out with like a masked ball, and then people can wear a mask? And we're just trying to think. We don't want to switch Christmas off yet, because we feel people will be ready to celebrate and have some sort of celebration, and especially the key workers. And we're going to look at obviously doing offers for key workers as well, to give them something back from our venues.
Yeah, I think it's important not to cancel it, isn't it? Because people need that hope, don't they? But it's like we said all along, it's how it's actually planned. And the chat that we did last week, this conversation came up again, and it was all about the alcohol aspect, that people can be kind of, you can tell people what to do, but when you put alcohol in the mix, are people going to be acting as they should act? You know, will they forget the rules that are in place? So do you have a Christmas party that's without alcohol? You know, what would that look like? Or would it, you know, would people want to come? So I think yeah, it's all really interesting, and it's still a long way off. We've still got a long time to go till we get to that point, but I think a lot of people are, like you said, are thinking about Christmas and what can we do. We need to celebrate, you know, and so it's going to be interesting how that pans out for everybody.
Yeah, we're not going to switch it off. We're just going to look at a different way and concept that we can do it, which is keeps people safe. Yeah.
Fab. Another question for you all. Has there been any active input from the HSE to help venues meet the criteria to keep people safe? Anybody want that one?
We've been doing quite a lot of different, quite a lot of different actions around health and safety to try and advise our venues, around what they can do. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, each of them have come up with their own amazing kind of health and safety audit and delivery on what they're going to do for the customers. As venues of excellence, quite early on, we agreed a pledge that all our members would sign up to give the customers confidence when they were booking, which is quite robust and part of the criteria that we all each venue signs up to when they join. But then we've actively worked with the different areas, so the Visit Britain and the Safe, Clean and Legal, and asked our venues wherever possible to be accredited too, because actually that really stands for something. And going back to the venue finding side, we are seeing that customers are asking for that when they're trying to place business. So it proves it's really important. So hope that helps.
Yeah, definitely. Anybody want to add anything to that?
We've also, sorry, Fee, go on, you go first.
I think there's various accredited schemes certainly that we're trying to work with, and I think we would all echo that we're not scared of a risk assessment these days. And we have done risk assessments upon risk assessments, and really upskilling everybody on that knowledge of how best to operate and what best practice is, and totally to follow it through with clients and working with local authorities and various other bodies to ensure we're compliant and we're transparent about it all.
And we've done exactly the same. Obviously, we're the caterer within these venues, and so we as Compass, the bigger umbrella over us. We've looked at lots of legislation, taken guidance from government guidelines, our HSE team, and also being kind of like international. Our group MD reached out to China and our other counterparts overseas as well, if they're ahead of the game on us, to look at what they're doing in terms of that HSE, so we can then pull ideas from them as well to pull those concepts together.
And I was just going to add that the NEC group, which of course Amplify are part of, took a bit of a leadership role in creating this Venue Protect blueprint. They basically obviously worked with all of the relevant associations and put together a guide which can be adapted to conference and events venues, and they have sort of shared that with the industry now. So they have done a lot of work on, the safety of customers and making sure that venues can operate and be absolutely compliant.
Yeah, and I suppose that the one positive to take out of, as a country being, delayed in returning to normality, is that we can actually take a look at other countries and what they're doing. We can stand back. We don't have to action everything straight away. So we can actually have a proper strategic approach to making sure that our venues are fit for purpose under the new restrictions, etc. And that's the one positive that we've been trying to get across, is that, we don't have to make a rash decision immediately and, invest in things that may not need doing. And we can actually sit back and look at the other countries on the continent and worldwide, and therefore have a proper strategic approach to how we return.
I think that's one thing that has come across in the industry for the last few months, is the sharing nature of everybody, that that let's not keep everything a secret. We all want to get back to work, so we can share ideas and concepts, because we all want to get back to work. We want to get venues open. We want to get hospitality back. So I think that's really encouraging to hear that information's out there for people to look at and share. Got another question for you all. Given that Wimbledon was one of the few venues to have pandemic insurance, will venues now add that into their own insurance, and will the cost be passed on to customers and attendees? Who would like that one?
Okay, I'll be a little vague. I think there's going to be a whole increase generally in costs across the board, and that will come from the hygiene factors, social distancing, PPE or not, masks, face coverings, whatever you want to call them. We're not legally supposed to call them PPE. Any sneeze guards, all of those things. And somewhere along the line, those costs have to be shared. whether it's insurance costs or whether it's the cost of a mask, and they need to be built into everything. And I think everybody understands, but we're also looking at a food cost increase of 10% across the board because of everything that's happened in the world. So we're not going to stand still. We're never going to be standing still.
Yeah, I mean, I echo what you say that, Fee. You know, it's, I think now's the time that we're trying not to think of cost as cost. We're trying to think of value to clients and customers.
Yeah.
What extra value can we give in? So costs, as you said quite rightly, they are going to increase. Not percentage-wise, I'm not sure what, but how can we be innovative and add more value to what we're delivering as a venue, I think is key.
Yeah. And I think adding the value back, as you say, Mark, is adding the reassurance and adding the hygiene factors, because like everybody else, we've been talking to our clients, and the hygiene factors are massive and important for them. So it's giving that reassurance back that that's part of the deal.
And I think oh, sorry.
No, go on, Sally, go on.
I was just going to mention that I think, you know, collectively across all of our sort of events, venues and industries, we're going to have to be a bit more creative in the way that we add value, because the way that we used to operate, potentially we're no longer going to be able to operate. So we've already mentioned buffet service, you know, that is no more. So how do we serve customers? How do we ensure that that customer experience isn't lost? And also, you know, with all of the things that we've just mentioned, we're potentially going to have to charge a little more for such an experience. So it's how do we ensure that that customer experience is not lost?
Something else that we've done in terms of talking about pandemic insurance, we've just currently reviewing all our contracts as well and I think everybody probably went into panic mode when we went into lockdown, saying, you know, let's have a look at our venue's contract, what's in the contract in terms of that force majeure clause. And it's just making sure that every venue has now got a really good, I suppose, robust contract with that force majeure, which actually covers what it needs to cover, both for obviously the venue and also for the customer as well.
Right. Thanks for answering that question. It's it is a challenging one. I've only got a couple more for you. Do you think there's any more that we can do to lobby the government to support our industry?
I'm going to, I feel like I'm answering a lot here, sorry.
No, it's fine.
We are embedded with Scottish Rugby, and as such, they are lobbying and have regular meetings with Scottish Government. So we're really on the front line of that. So I'm very, very grateful for what they're doing for that. So they're working with the government, Scottish Government, not only for sporting events and live events like that, but also for the events industry in Scotland, working with live outdoor events. That's primarily the purpose that they're lobbying for, but then that will filter down to our hospitality, to our C&B and those different aspects. So we consider ourselves very fortunate from that aspect, that we really are on the cutting edge and front line and trying to do best practice wherever we can, because the better we do that going forward, the more it will open it up. And so we're hoping to be involved in some test events and things in Scotland, which is exciting, nerve-wracking, an opportunity, all of that.
And I think what's been really refreshing is to see, and this was mentioned earlier, how different associations that wouldn't necessarily work together in a normal scenario have actually, sort of working together to lobby government to help the industry as a whole piece, not just looking at their own specific venue or particular sector. Many of you might have seen the Let the Music Play hashtag on social media today, which basically has a whole raft of high-profile artists supporting it. And it's so nice to see, you know, so many different venues coming together and supporting that. And I know the Concert Promoters Association and the National Arenas Association, who don't necessarily work together, have, again, behind the scenes, been working really hard in conjunction with government to get events happening again. So I think there is a lot being done, and it's nice to see how everybody is working together to, you know, get things going again.
I would absolutely agree, Sally. I think the way that the industry organisations have all pulled together and are backing each other, I think we need clarity really around, you know, meetings, small meetings, large events. If we could just have a bit more fine tuning for now, that would really support everybody. I think, but certainly as an events industry, we've proven again that actually how strong we are when we all work together, and it's a joy to see, isn't it? So I think they're doing as much as they possibly can, and I think you know, for us in Venues of Excellence, all our members have been asked to send a letter to their local MP. We've done the same on behalf of our organisation. We've joined forces with you know, the MIA, HVAA, wherever we possibly can to you know, bring together the force of who we all are really. So I think we just have to keep doing it, and these great initiatives are fantastic to see. Amazing.
Yeah. Right, well, I think I'm going to leave the questions there, because it's really nice to end on that positive note that we're all working together. There's a lot of, you know, there's collaboration, and we all want this to move forward. So I think it's a really nice way to end it there. So I'm going to hand back to Jay. So thank you everybody for answering the questions from the audience today.
Thank you so much to everybody. Really enjoyed today's live chat. But before we conclude, obviously just want to say a massive thank you to you all for being part of the panel today. We know that you're really, really busy and you've got so much on in terms of liaising with your clients and doing the great work that you're doing. So thank you for taking the time. And also thank you to Karen for moderating and asking the trickier questions. And of course, a big thank you to Gino Spolverino, who is the man behind the tech. And without him, we would be sitting in the dark. So thank you. And thanks everyone that's taken time out of your day to watch via Zoom or by Facebook, and hope you all have a great day.